Good afternoon, honorable members. It is my duty to call upon you to elect an acting chair. Are there any nominations? Are there any nominations? MPP Saunderson?
Clerk, I nominate MPP Anand.
Does the member accept the nomination?
Yes, without nominating him.
Are there any further nominations?
I would prefer him.
There being no further nominations, I declare the nominations closed and MPP Anand elected acting chair.
Good afternoon, everyone. I call this meeting to the Standing Committee on Heritage, Infrastructure and Cultural Policy to order. We meeting to resume public hearing on Bill 110. Yes, MPP. Okay. Is the laptop off? All right. As I said earlier, we are meeting to resume public hearing on Bill 110, an act to enact the Billy Bishop Airport Act 2026. To ensure that everyone who speaks is heard and understood, it is important that all participants speak slowly and clearly. Please wait until you're recognized by the chair before speaking. As always, all comments should go through the chair. As a reminder, each presenter will have 7 minutes for their presentation. After we have heard from all these presenters, the remaining 39 minutes will be allocated for questions from members of the committee. Alrighty, so we've gone through this. Okay, at this time, I see we have the members from Hope Air, Airport Management Council of Ontario, and Mr. Penalosa Gill. We're going to start with the Hope Air. Please state your name for the handset. Thank you so much. And you have 7 minutes. And just before 1 minute, I will be reminding you for a minute. Please continue. Do not stop. Thank you so much. Muted. Unmute yourself. Okay.
No, we still can't hear him. Why don't we go to the next presenter,
Okay.
and then we'll come back to him if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go to Airport Management Council of Ontario, and we will come back to Hope Air afterward. We were not able to listen to you, sir. So can you please check your mic in between? Over to the Airport Management Council of Ontario. Please go ahead and state your name.
Of the Airport Management Council of Ontario, and I will turn it over to my colleague to introduce herself.
I am Laura McNeese. I am the CEO of the Airport Management Council of Ontario. We are a member-based not-for-profit organization in Ontario, representing Ontario's airports and aerodromes, including all certified airports with the exception of one. And that does include Billy Bishop Airport, as well as the remote northern airports owned by the province.
Thanks, Laura, and thank you again, Mr. Chair. It's our pleasure to be here this afternoon to speak to this bill and support the takeover of or the change in ownership of Billy Bishop Airport property. It's great to see that the province of Ontario is now recognizing airports as critical infrastructure and the much needed support that our industry needs. Airports are critical to their communities for many reasons: economic reasons, leisure travel reasons, tourism reasons, healthcare, and many, many other reasons. In fact, I checked my logs yesterday and we had 3 Orange Air flights out of Sault Ste. Marie that went to Billy Bishop Airport for much needed medical service. Airports are also going to be playing a key to access the Ring of Fire until those roads are built. Toronto Island, as I noted, is especially critical for healthcare and medevac aircraft from the north accessing critical care in downtown Toronto. If it wasn't for Toronto Island Airport, where would these planes go? and how quickly could those patients get to those hospitals in Southern Ontario and Southern Toronto. In fact, back in the day, Toronto Island and Porter Airlines were a key lifeline to northern airports and a number of regional airports. After the Air Canada and Canadian merger, there was really no competition left in the airline industry for our markets to serve. And so we were being served by one market or one airline. And now with Billy Bishop and Porter, we've been able to have two airlines, and that was greatly helpful in increasing our passenger numbers. As you know, the main goal for airports is always safety. This is in many, many forms. We have safety management systems, which are mandated. We have ARF, which is aircraft rescue firefighting. We have security, and all of these come with a cost, including RISA. RISA is the newest regulation to Canadian airports and is mandatory. The deadline for it is 2027. And without RISA, as you're probably aware, Billy Bishop would not be able to continue to operate, as it would not be able to meet its certification requirements. And as I noted already, Billy Bishop is a key airport for our entire industry, and all of us rely on it. Safety and the fact that Billy Bishop, due to the ferry, is unique. They have to do infrastructure fighting as well as our fighting. And they also have extra vehicles that travel across the runways, which is an obstacle. The less vehicles on a maneuvering area, the safer the operation of the airport will be. I should note that airports are a network, and there needs to be another airport to land and take off from to serve Billy Bishop. So the whole network is in need of support. Regional airports are struggling and are still down more than 40% from pre-COVID service levels. There is real risk to survivability of regional airports, and we need a strong Billy Bishop for our regional airports to be able to access service there. Toronto Island is a major provider of regional connectivity for airports throughout the province and the north. And without Billy Bishop, we would have no other competition for our airlines to fly into, and this really helps our markets. I'd like to now turn it back over to Laura.
Thanks, Terry. So, Mr. Chair, what we are saying is that Billy Bishop is very important to the entire network of Ontario's airports and aerodromes. They are a major connecting point for all of Ontario. And so we support actions that will allow them to continue to modernize and to enhance their services to Ontario's citizens. Another aspect of what AMCO is advocating for is support of the entire network, particularly with funding programs for small airports and aerodromes, so that they can continue to also operate safely and up to standards, so that the network of airports within Ontario is enhanced as one network as opposed to individual airports.
And Mr. Chair, again, we are here in support of Billy Bishop Airport, and we need a strong Billy Bishop Airport and a safe Billy Bishop Airport in order to keep our network strong. I shall say that a mile of runway will take you around the world, but a mile of highway or a mile of rail will only take you 1 mile. So again, Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity on behalf of the Airport Management Council of Ontario to speak today, and we'd be happy to answer any questions when that time comes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we'll be moving back again, trying to do with Hope Air once more. Mark, go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Chair. I hope you can hear me this time. My name is Mark Ruben.
Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Mark Rubenstein, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Hope Air. Thank you for the opportunity to appear today in support of the government's intention to modernize Billy Bishop Airport. Hope Air is a national charity that was founded in 1986, headquartered in Toronto, with a mission to support families, individuals, and children in financial need who have to travel long distance to reach medical specialty care. Last year, Hope Air delivered over 38,000 medical travel arrangements for patients in need across 700 plus communities in all provinces and territories. Hope Air provides its programs to deliver on our mission in several ways, but our foundation are free airline flights for patients and their caregivers, and we coordinate this in 2 ways. First, through partnerships with airlines like Porter Airlines, We provide airline travel for both patients and family members. And second, Hope Air operates a volunteer pilot program where accredited pilots volunteer their time to fly with smaller aircraft into rural or remote areas where commercial airline service may be limited or unavailable. Hope Air patients represent some of the most vulnerable in the province of Ontario, including children, seniors, disabled persons, low-income families, new Canadians, and Indigenous peoples. Without Hope Air, the majority of our clients would postpone or cancel their medical appointment due to cost, and this would lead to significantly poorer healthcare outcomes, suffering, and shorter lifespans. Or people would be pushed into poverty by borrowing money they don't have to pay for airline and other medical travel expenses. Hope Air supports families and individuals traveling for any recognized health condition, including cancer, cardiac, orthopedic surgery, diabetes, ophthalmology, obstetrics, and a wide range of pediatric health issues, amongst many others. We also operate 2 unique medical travel programs supporting organ donors, both donors and recipients, and pediatric cancer trials at UHN and Sick Kids Hospital in downtown Toronto, respectively. In Ontario, Hope Air supports families and individuals living in over 70 northern Ontario communities, both big and small, including Thunder Bay, Sault Ste. Marie, Timmins, Sudbury, Hearst, Kenora, Rainy River, Cochrane, Manitoulin Island, etc. We also support families living in other communities, such as Windsor, Ontario, and parts of Eastern Ontario. Over the last year, Hope Air provided over 1,000 patient and caregiver trips for medical travel arrangements for Ontario residents. This represents close to 2,000 flights. All of these individuals and families are traveling for medical specialty care unavailable in their home community, and most are traveling to leading hospitals in downtown Toronto. Billy Bishop Airport provides a lifeline for so many people traveling to reach our best specialty hospitals here in Toronto. First, there are many communities where regular commercial airline service is primarily scheduled via Porter or Air Canada flying into Billy Bishop. Second, Hope Air volunteer pilots routinely land at Billy Bishop, avoiding the congestion or delays that would be experienced at an airport like Pearson. In times of national emergency, such as the COVID-19 pandemic from 2020 to 22, Billy Bishop Airport was often the only realistic airport available in Toronto for non-emergency medical travel from Northern Ontario. When people's lives were at stake, we realized we should never take this airport for granted. We should cherish it, strengthen it, and be proud that we have it available for critical health care. When Hope Air patients land at Billy Bishop, and in partnership with others, they can reach hospital in 15 minutes, something that's simply not possible when flying through Pearson. For people who are very sick and going through the most stressful experience of their life, Hope Air and Billy Bishop and our airline partners represent a critical part of their successful medical journey. For many Hope Air patients, travel is not a common experience. Some have never traveled outside of their home community. And Hope Air and Billy Bishop, together with our partners, provide a true lifeline for so many patients. Enhancing and modernizing Billy Bishop Airport will reduce total travel patient time. The length of hospital stays will be reduced as patients are able to return home sooner after treatment. And it represents significantly less stress for people who are very, very sick. Modernizing Billy Bishop can increase the frequency and reliability of airline service to and from Toronto. In conclusion, in the preamble to the bill, the government cites modernizing Billy Bishop Toronto City Airport will unlock the airport's economic potential for all of Ontario. That, of course, is very true. But I would add to the preamble to the legislation the role that Billy Bishop plays in supporting equitable and effective access to healthcare for people living in Northern Ontario and other regions of the province who have no choice but to travel to Toronto for life-saving medical care. Thank you again for the opportunity to appear today, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you so much. And now we'll be moving over to the last presenter for this section, Mr. Penelosa Gill.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Name so we can register for the answer.
Yeah, 1 second while they. Yeah.
You can start. You will be on the screen soon as you start.
Okay.
Here you go.
Okay, my name is Gil Penalosa, and I'm the founder and chair of 880 Cities and Cities for Everyone, but I'm here not on behalf of them, I'm just as a citizen. What a beautiful image, the islands and the possibilities. And yes, we're going to talk about this. First, I want to say this has nothing to do with political parties, nothing. So it's not left or right or center, nothing. So it would be nice even if they mixed. Also, it has nothing to do with the city or the province. It's not city versus province. This is a city. No, everyone should be coming to the same decision. The greater Toronto area is going to grow by more than 50% in the next 40 years. So we have about 7.5 million people in the greater, in the extended, in the greater 5 million, 50% more. So we need more green space. We need more recreation. We need to decide how do we want to live. We have not thought about that. It's incredible that we know that the GTA is going to grow by 2.5 million, and we have no idea where they're going to live, how are they going to go to school, what are they going to do on Saturdays, on Sundays, what type of housing. We need to decide how do we want to live, because that elected officials at all levels should have one foot on today and the other on 50 or 100 years from now. I think most elected officials have 99% on today, putting out today's fires without thinking what's going to happen around the corner. So we need to think about equity and sustainability and playfulness, where everyone can really live healthier and happier. Let's put an umbrella. What if everything that you did here at Queen's Park, the umbrella, you evaluate it by equity, sustainability, playfulness? Actually, just now I didn't hear any of them almost mention the word people or equitable or sustainable or playful, where everyone can live healthier and happier. That should be the elements to evaluate this decision. We need to have a vision, and we do not have a vision at the city or at the province. I asked the mayors in the GTHA, how do you see your city in 2076? Have no idea. The vision is like the image on a puzzle, on a jigsaw puzzle. So it doesn't matter which pieces of the puzzle you do, as long as they are pieces of the same puzzle. But when we don't have a vision, we're doing here. It's like a Frankenstein. So we need actions. But if we're doing actions without a vision, it happens what we are doing now with much of the waterfront. The waterfronts are almost God's gift to everyone. Should be freely accessible to everyone. I mean, waterfront Toronto has done amazing things. And it's the city, it's the province, it's the federal working together. Imagine if we had given them 10, 15, 20 years ago, Exhibition Place, Ontario Place, the Gardiner, the airport, we would not be having these meetings. The airport land is a lifetime opportunity. But also lifetime opportunity, we've done some huge errors that had nothing to do with political parties. Ontario plays into a spa that I think eventually is going to be a casino, billions invested. Horrible. We've seen the elevated Gardiner. What a fiasco, and what a multiple billions of dollars invested in that. Missing gigantic opportunities. What if all decisions, if we had taken equity, playfulness, and sustainability, we would not be doing the spa or the elevated Gardiner. There is no city in the world, developed world, that is doing elevated highways by a waterfront. None, except Toronto. It's incredible. The GTHA leaders, I think, that we have not had that vision. We invite that you could lead a shared vision. But let me close on the Bill 110. These are the Moulton Airport, that now is called Pearson, and the island airports, which were done at a similar time, around 1939. At that time, the Morton Airport seemed like if it was way up north, very far. So that's why the island airport was done. But imagine that we had not done it and that today we had this piece of land. Does anybody really think that we would be building an airport where we have 5 million, that is going to be 7.5 million around there in the next few years? Not at all. The island airport, let's go back to the umbrella. If we were thinking about equity and sustainability and health and happiness, fails every category. Every category. The quality of the air, the level of the noise, how dangerous it is, everything. And we've been investing billions and billions, and people talk about economic development. The people, oh, it's going to be good for business. Yes, I haven't seen one single argument. Where are the studies? They say, oh, people are not going to come into the island. Yeah, but Pearson is, if you go from Union Station to the island, it's 15 minutes. From Union Station to Pearson is 25 minutes. We're just talking about 10 minutes. It's as if those airlines were going to close. No, they're just going to move to Pearson. Even the hospitals from the island airport might be 15, 20 minutes. From Pearson might be 20, 25 minutes. There's 5 minutes difference. So all of the money, all of the jobs can be moved. So I think what is really about economic development is how to retain and attract the best people. That's economic development, attracting and retaining people. That's why...
1 minute?
No, I think we have to, because you were counting when they were talking about this. This is the Billy Bishop Airport. I think that one of the things that you should be doing, like Alex said, Ontario's Island Park could be Canada's best urban park. We're going to have over 11 million people within 90 minutes of this park. The Billy Bishop Airport, I think decision makers, I invite you to do as Elinikon did in Athens, Greece. Closed in 2001 and created an amazing park, part of it housing, part of it park, and it's wonderful. Or you can look at Berlin. Berlin closed this 380-hectare park also in 2008 through a referendum, and now has an amazing park. When I have enjoyed those parks many, many times, they are fantastic. They are vibrant. They're not doing it because they're dumb. They're doing it because they want to retain and attract people. And the premier loves Chicago, so look at what Chicago did. Once again, they took an island airport and turned it into a fantastic park for all people. So
Thank
let's
you so
do
much.
that. That's a boutique airport. It's really the best use of public interest.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Prasad. There is going to be a round of conversation, but at this time, you will have, hopefully you'll have time when the questions will be asked. You can answer it at that point of time, but we have to be fair to everybody. We give equal 7 minutes to everyone. At this time, I will be moving over to the third party, and MPP Margaret.
Thank you very much, and thanks to all the speakers. And I'm happy to cede 40 seconds, only 40 seconds. It's for you to finish.
Okay,
Thanks.
40 seconds is really simple. What to do, I think, is not rocket science. It's the public good over the private interest. It's our Constitution. Please do not expand the runway. No to the built-in and build-in. And move Billy Bishop, flights and jobs to Pearson. Merge the airport lands with the Toronto Island. From an airport lands to Island Park. 80% park, 20% housing. And what
Thank you. That's 42. Thanks. Sorry, I'm very tight on my time because I only have 6.5 minutes. So thank you for that great presentation, and thank you to everyone for attending today. My first questions go to Hope Air, and I just want to take a moment and thank you from the bottom of my heart, and pretty much probably everyone here, for all you do for humankind. It is very benevolent. Thank you. But on that note, we know that jets currently are permitted under the current operating agreement for medical emergencies at Billy Bishop. That's my understanding. For passengers and for organ deliveries. Is that your understanding as well? To Hope Air.
I can't speak to that, but what I would say is to understand the work of Hope Air you have to think about us as the non-emergency version of Orange. So to give you a great example, if you're living in Hearst, Ontario, and God forbid you suffer a traumatic car accident, Orange will come and pick you up and take you to downtown Toronto if that's where the closest trauma center is. If you're diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer, life-threatening obviously, Orange is not going to pick you up except under exceptional circumstances, and you or your doctor would typically reach out to Hope Air for support.
Okay, and so primarily, do you only fly into Billy Bishop or do you fly into Lester B. Pearson?
We fly patients into both airports based upon scheduling and availability and really around medical appointments and what's most efficient for patients and their families.
What will be your breakdown of how many flights would go to Lester B versus Billy?
That's a good question. I don't have that handy. I'm happy to provide the committee with those statistics afterwards. But what I would say, for example, is all of our volunteer pilot flights are typically only coordinated through Billy Bishop Airport because smaller aircraft, general aircraft aviation are discouraged from landing at Pearson. In addition, it tends to be much more expensive in terms of landing fees and other attributes.
Okay, thank you very much. And now on to the Airport Management Council of Ontario, AMCO. Laura or Terry, thank you for coming in. So it's my understanding there was a Toronto City Council meeting back in 2024 where the issue of the safety requirements for Billy Bishop were discussed in a report, and the council and mayor were to choose the different from three different scenarios for the runway and safety area, the RESA. Number 1, minimum landness to meet the regulatory requirement. Number 2, additional taxiway. And number 3, additional airside roads, sound barrier, and underground utility corridor. And I think RESA 3 was the one that people wanted for to meet the most or highest safety requirements, but RESA 1 was adopted by council. Would you have been fine with RESA 3?
Yeah, I think RESA 3 would have been much more supported, as it would have provided the opportunity to take a lot of the vehicles that are actually traveling over the airfield out of the airfield. Vehicles should only be on an airfield for emergency purposes or needed purposes. To taxi or transport vehicles across an airfield just to get to the other side of the island really puts those vehicles and the traveling public a little more unsafe, right? The less vehicles out there, the safer it would be. So RESA 3 probably would have been the best solution at the time because it would have provided that opportunity to get the vehicles off of the airfield.
Right, so it's my understanding it's about 800 vehicles a year that traverse the runway, and including school buses. Is that
That's my understanding as well. Like Billy Bishop is a member airport, but we're not obviously overly familiar with the entire operation.
So maybe if we adopted RESA 3, we wouldn't be here.
1 minute.
All right. Do you want to speak to the congestion at the airport, like in the Aaron Key, Terry? If this proposed expansion, to the extent the government wants, goes through, would you think that they would need a parking garage and kind of restructuring of Aaron Key?
Yeah, so I'm not familiar with the master plan of Billy Bishop, but I would suggest that with that many more passengers, there would need to be an opportunity for parking to be somewhere for those people to park. I'm sure in Toronto, a lot of people could commute and avoid parking, but again, and a lot of the people coming in obviously wouldn't have vehicles either. They would be commuting via public transit. So it would be based on the mix of passenger levels that would dictate whether additional parking would be required.
All right, that concludes the 6.5 minute. We will be moving over to the government side. I see MPP Grewal.
Thank you very much, Chair. My first question would be to Hope Air. I just wanted to ask you guys on Bill 110, what does this mean for Hope Air, and how is the expansion of the airport going to further benefit those flights coming in and out, and what do you hope to see with the expansion of this airport? Sir?
Mark, can you hear us? We can't hear you, so can you unmute yourself, sir? Go ahead.
I believe we're having some technical difficulty, but...
Okay,
okay, there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yep,
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Apologies for that. Well, the modernization of the airport really speaks to the ongoing demand that families, individuals, children, patients have to increasingly travel long distances to get to our best specialty hospitals in Toronto for often life-saving treatment. If you go back and if you look at what happened during the COVID period, as I think I referenced in my opening remarks, 2020 to 2022, there were significant flight reductions, especially between Northern Ontario communities and Southern Ontario and Toronto in particular. Once we came out of the pandemic, the airlines that are operating at Billy Bishop today, Porter and Air Canada, recalibrated. But my hope would be that with a modernization of the airport, it may offer more flight frequency between the 70 some odd communities that we presently support all across Northern Ontario and other parts of the province. And the other benefit would be that it would allow us to increase the frequency of our volunteer pilot program, where for many people, it's the only option they have without a very long, arduous journey to get from their home community to Toronto. So think about a community like those living on Manitoulin Island, where there's no commercial airport service. So I think in every respect, recognizing that lives are at stake and people's healthcare journey is what we're talking about, all that we can do to ensure that for the 1 million plus people living in Northern Ontario, for example, who don't have the same advantages of access as those who are living, for example, in Ottawa or in the Greater Toronto area, by modernizing the airport, we're providing a lift to more equity in our healthcare system and ensuring that more people can travel to life-saving care efficiently and compassionately.
Thank you very much, sir, for your comments. And I'd like to move my second question to the Airport Management Council of Ontario. And my question really is around airport expansion, economic growth, future travel demand. What do you foresee this legislative change growing Billy Bishop, growing the future and building for the future in this particular project?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a great opportunity. Obviously, airports need a lot of money in order to operate and to build. And if the province is willing to put up the funds that the city hasn't been able to, that'll be great. As I mentioned in my opening, regional airports are still really hurting from COVID, and we need to see growth that will allow this to happen. And right now, for instance, for a passenger to leave Sault Ste. Marie to connect to Porter's Jets, we'd have to either take the Up Express or carry on to Ottawa to catch those jets. This will be an opportunity for passengers from the north to have more opportunity through Billy Bishop Airport to hit more markets throughout North America, likely, depending on what the plan is for the airport eventually. But it's certainly going to open up a lot more networks for people to travel and a lot less need to change aircrafts and change airports if we can just connect through Billy Bishop on one stop to many more airports.
Thank you very much, sir. And my last question is going to be our presenter that's here in person, Mr. Gill. I looked at your plan, and your plan really is about but turning everything into parkland And what about all of this economic opportunity that we're generating? There's ample parkland in the area. We've invested in so many national parks across this province. Why is it that you want to turn this airport into a park?
For health and happiness. When I'm talking about health, they are talking about the people that don't arrive on time.
So, sir, since we only have 2 minutes, I'm just trying to keep everything brief. Yeah, health.
But physical,
now my
mental,
question
and social
comes
health.
back to health, is that this airport's going to help provide access to health for thousands of people that are going to be traveling from the north down into downtown Toronto's core, where we have the best hospitals around the world, giving them immediate air access and life-saving treatments. Don't you believe that this airport's an asset to help save the lives of those up in the north?
No, any life-saving would arrive to the airport and take a helicopter to the hospital. The time would be the same out of Pearson or out of Billy Bishop. So from the economic point of view, all of the jobs would be moving to Pearson.
Thank you very much. And I just want to flip it back to Hope for the last 30 seconds. Can we talk about what kind of time this will save those patients that are in critical care for their support? If we're able to.
Is that a question for Hope Air?
For Hope Air, yep.
It will make a dramatic difference, as I've said previously, for people living in rural, remote, and underserved communities, especially when they're traveling using Hope Air small aircraft, private flights.
Thank you so much. That concludes the time to the government, and we're moving over to the official opposition. MPP Glover, please.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here today. I'll start my comments or my questions for Mark Rubenstein of Hope Air. Mark, I think we've had a couple of conversations in the past, or at least I've had conversations with other members of your organization. I want to thank you for your service, bringing patients from across Ontario to get hospital care. And I think that's a really vital service that you provide. You mentioned that you've got a number of volunteer pilots. The last time we spoke, if it was you or that I spoke with Hope Air, they were talking about the closure of airports across Ontario, that a lot of the smaller airports are being lost because the municipalities just don't have the tax base to actually keep them going. How important is it to keep those small airports going in order for people to be emergency evacuated to hospital care?
It's critical. It's absolutely critical, and I would encourage all levels of government to do everything possible to keep smaller airports in places like Northern Ontario. They are lifelines, and as I said in my earlier comment, you can talk about economic activity, which is important. You can talk about tourist activity, which is important. But if it's your partner, your child, or yourself who's very sick and needs to get to medical treatment that will save your life, extend your life, it's critical.
And a lot of northern airports have gravel runways. They're not even paved. What's the difference for a pilot between a gravel runway and a paved runway?
Well, all of our pilots, all of our volunteer pilots are flying in, first of all, they're accredited pilots, usually ex-commercial airline pilots, and their aircraft are capable of landing in rougher terrain, but it certainly makes things easier when the runway is paved. Okay.
And you mentioned that the volunteer pilots are flying smaller planes. What kind of planes do they typically fly?
It could be a 2-seat to 6-seat aircraft. Could be small Cessnas, Pipers, those kind of aircraft.
Okay. Beavers? Twin Air?
Occasionally.
Occasionally? Okay. I used to work in Geraldton, and the Beavers were still the Bush plane for Northern Ontario. So those planes can land now at Billy Bishop. Prop planes can land at Billy Bishop.
Yes.
It's the jets. It's the expansion for jets that is being proposed here. So it wouldn't, this expansion will not necessarily help those volunteer pilots and the planes that they're landing. They can already land at Billy Bishop.
That's true. However, just given the sheer volume of patient requests we get, I think I mentioned over the last 12 months, we supported over 2,000 flights. There can't be enough volunteers to support that. So relying on commercial airline service, in particular Porter Airlines, which of course grew out of Northern Ontario, founded out of Northern Ontario, their route connectivity is essential in order for us to deliver on our mission.
Okay. One of the challenges for this expansion is that there was a 2017 environmental assessment done for the possibility of allowing jets at Billy Bishop, done by the Toronto Port Authority. And they said that if you extend the runway at that point by 400 meters, 200 meters in each direction, that it would reduce the water flow into the harbor by half. And now the proposal is to extend the runway by 900 meters and then have another 1.5 kilometers of lighting into the water. And we don't know what the environmental impact would be, how much that would reduce the water flow. But we had somebody from the City of Toronto here talking today that there's already raw sewage that flows into the harbor. It would have no place to go, and it might, become, the Toronto harbor may become basically a stagnant swamp. This is one of the concerns that we have, that we need to do a proper environmental assessment, but the government who's introduced this bill is saying they're not going to work with the City of Toronto. They're going to introduce utilize Bill 5 to make it a special economic zone. So they won't look at the health or safety of the people that use the waterfront, the 28 million visitors or the residents there. Is that a concern? Is that a legitimate concern for the residents and the visitors to the Toronto waterfront?
If you're asking me my opinion, I'll give you my personal opinion, which is that I believe that consultation should take place with all stakeholders, and that based upon that consultation, government will make the decisions that are appropriate.
Actually, that's what we heard David Crombie, the former mayor and former federal cabinet minister, say today. He said, we need everybody at the table, but this bill that's before the House would actually eliminate the people of Toronto and the City of Toronto from being at the table, and that's one of our concerns. So thank you again. Thank you so much for the service that you provide. It's life-saving service, and we want to make sure that people are able to get to the hospital. Let's see. My next question.
1 minute.
1 minute. Okay. Let's see. To the Airport Management Council, you said that the province needs to put up the funds that the city is not able to. And we just heard from Hope Air that we're losing municipal airports across the province. Should the government not be investing, rather than investing money at Billy Bishop, should the government not be investing at these small airports that we are at risk of losing across Ontario?
So we believe that the government of Ontario can invest in Billy Bishop as well as investing in the small airports and aerodromes. So we have actually come up with a program called the Ontario Airport Capital Assistance Program, which would be a $10 million funding program annually to support these small airports and aerodromes in order to prevent the closure. But these are two separate
and has the province
projects.
committed
Thank you so much. That concludes the 6.5 minutes. Maybe we're moving over to the Liberal Party. MPP Hazel.
Thank you to everyone that presented today. I'm going to get right into it. So my first question is going to be with the AMCO organization. I want to focus on gridlock and congestion in the city. And so my question to you is expansion of the Billy Bishop Airport. It is going to add to already the gridlock and the horrible congestion that we are currently experiencing in the downtown core. And so I just want to list this to you, and I'm not too sure if you're aware of that, so I want to share this information with you. In Ontario, about $56.4 billion annually in economic and social costs. That is what the congestion and gridlock is causing Ontario. In Greater Toronto and Hamilton area, about $44.7 billion annually. Congestion contributes to roughly 112,000 fewer jobs across Ontario and 88,000 fewer jobs in the GTAHA alone. And so the government, at the federal level, they have given a cost benefit analysis of what is going into the expansion of Pearson Airport. We do not have that at Billy Bishop Airport. So how would this expansion help your organization and to the people outside of Ontario?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. So we don't have those numbers in front of us either, but I'm sure Just like Pearson did, Billy Bishop probably has those numbers prepared and could share them with you as well. And I understand they speak later today, if I'm not mistaken, as well. But certainly, it's going to help all airports throughout the province by opening up the airport even more to allow for more aircraft to come in and out. It'll allow for more connectivity for different communities that currently don't have service to potentially get service. You got to remember, we're talking small regional aircraft, and Pearson is more into the big international flights, right? So I think a lot is mistaken in that our industry is not recovered. So the major airports have recovered, like Pearson International has recovered doing international flights, but regional airports have not recovered. Billy Bishop, I don't believe, is back to where it was pre-pandemic, and almost every regional airport in Ontario, and if not the entire country, is not back to where it was. So I'm not sure how much it's going to impact gridlock in downtown Toronto. But you got to remember, some of these people are going to connect to different locations. They're just going to fly through the airport. Some will take public transit. So it's not necessarily that they're all going to be residents of Toronto that are going to be using that airport, but there's going to be people coming into Toronto as well.
Yeah, in essence of time, I want to follow up with another question. And so from your response to me, I can see you are supporting the expansion of the airport. And so I'm going back into the downtown core. Do you know the impact that this will have to the people in Toronto?
I can't officially say that I do know that. No, I haven't been privy to the master plan of Billy Bishop, nor am I familiar with.
Ask another question. I want to ask you another question. So the same way you are not privy to a master plan, there is no master plan, okay? The government came out with a Bill 110, and that's the information that is in the Bill 110, and we have to make meaningful of or expansion of what is in that Bill 110. So thank you so much for your contributions to my questions. And I'm going to move on to Hope Air. Hope Air, I thank you for everything that you're doing for our vulnerable people. You know, when you talk about seniors and children and Indigenous people, like, you are doing the right thing to move them around the city and to move them around the province. And I thank you for that, because sometimes we forget about those people. We really do. And, you know, these are people that pave their way with paying their taxes and deserve these services as well, especially for our underserved people. So can you, on record, put what the expansion of Billy Bishop Airport how will that impact your organization?
Well, our hope would be, as I said in my opening remarks, several-fold. First of all, that it will increase the frequency or availability of commercial flights, primarily Porter Airlines, but perhaps Air Canada as well, from northern communities south, where many of those routes were cut or reduced during the pandemic and never fully restored. Okay. Secondly, that would allow us to continue to support and grow our volunteer pilot program, so that we can reach those seniors and those children and those low-income families living in communities where there's limited commercial airline service or no commercial airline service. And the modernization of the airport, ultimately for vulnerable people, which is the entire population that Hope Air supports, no one else, only vulnerable people. If you compare the stress and the frustration and the challenges of flying into a bigger airport like Pearson Airport, compared to Billy Bishop, it's just day and night. It's, you know, a 15-minute Uber ride or taxi ride to a university hospital versus all of the challenges of navigating Pearson, which, as I said earlier, for many people, don't travel very often, some not at all.
And so I want to talk about the airports in the north, because, you know, sitting in the chamber and hear my northerners debate on the challenges of the smaller airports that are operating in across Ontario, don't you think that they are to be built up and in proper condition if we're talking about safety for the people that fly out of these smaller airports? We're not doing enough for those people.
As I said earlier to a previous question, I believe that airports are a vital lifeline for people who live in smaller communities all
concludes
across
the
Northern
time
Ontario,
allocated to
other
the
Thank
third
you.
party.
across Ontario
Thanks.
as well.
Moving over to the government, MPP Sanderson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to all our presenters this afternoon for taking time to come and offer your opinions and expertise on this important legislation. And sitting here, I think you're now our third panel. What we're hearing is what a critical piece of infrastructure airports are on top of roads, highways, and subway systems and rail. And I think it was you, Mr. Boss, that said 1 mile of runway opens up thousands of miles of travel versus 1 mile of highway or rail is 1 mile. And so what I've taken from your comments really is the importance of the interconnectedness and that this is an organic chain. And so by improving the Billy Bishop Airport, what I've heard from both you, Mr. Rubenstein, and from the AMCO is that this will improve accessibility for travel across the province. We've heard certainly about the incredible impacts for health, but then there are very important impacts for other things. And when I worked in Ottawa, I often landed in Billy Bishop Airport to come to Toronto for meetings. So it's very much an organic system. And when I was a member of the Simcoe County Council that owns the Simcoe Regional Airport, and so I know firsthand some of the financial pressures. It was owned 90% by the City of Barrie, but they couldn't afford to lift it to where it needed to go. So it was bought by Simcoe County. And so it's part of the SOAN, the Southern Ontario Network, which I think is 11 airports. And AMCO, you tell me you have 80 members across the province. So you're expanded from beyond that. So I know you've spoken to this already, but I'm just wondering if you can talk generally then about how the expansion of the Billy Bishop Airport is going to increase the network, grow the network, provide opportunities for the smaller airports across the province, and how that's going to serve people across the province.
Yes, certainly. Thank you. So we need more opportunities for flights to get into more regional airports, and opening up Billy Bishop to allow for it to reach to more regional airports just allows more travel opportunities for those airlines to seek out. Now, obviously, the airlines still have to deal with crew and flight and pilots and all that. But at the end of the day, the more the opportunity there is, the more opportunity there is to reach out to different airports that don't have service. There's certainly airports in the north right now that don't have Porter service or Air Canada service, or either Porter or Air Canada service. And I'm sure they would love to have the opportunity to get that service back at their airports, because in reality, airports our size, regional or greater, the airline service is our lifeline, right? We make our money off of the passengers, and so we need that opportunity to have those airlines to service us. And the more flights we can get, the better it is for the passengers. 1 flight a day makes it very difficult. 2 flights a day you can work with, and 3 flights or more a day is perfect for regional sized markets. So this is really going to open up the opportunity for expansion there to allow for additional airports to get service, because Billy Bishop will have more space to reach different regional airports and allow us more opportunity to get in there.
Yeah, thank you for that. And on the discussion then of this being a critical infrastructure, like a roadway, there was commentary from my colleague opposite, MPP McMahon, about her time on City Council when they were looking at RESA 3, Option 3. And in fact, the province agrees with Option 3. And under this bill, the province will replace the City of Toronto as a member of this tripartite agreement with the federal government and with the Port Authority. And so this shows the province's willingness to work, to expand, to increase and enhance safety, and to make sure that we're feeding this critical infrastructure network. Would you agree with that?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would agree with that for sure. I think RESA 3, as I said earlier, would have allowed the opportunity to get a lot of those vehicles that don't belong on an airfield off of that airfield. And so I would agree that RESA 3 is a greater option, is a more safe option, and it would have been the better option at the time to proceed with.
And then turning to you, Mr. Rubenstein, we've heard how important this is for healthcare. You've talked very convincingly, and I think brought some good facts to the table about the differences between the Pearson Airport and the Billy Bishop Airport, and how it's so much more accessible. It's downtown, it's linked to current infrastructure for travel, but also that it cuts out and makes more available and accessible flights for your patients or the people that you're serving. In deal with their health concerns, not only in Ontario but across the country. But I'm just wondering again if you could sort of highlight for us the critical nature that the Billy Bishop Airport, and it's the third busiest airport in Ontario, so I don't want to diminish it, but certainly when it's compared to the Pearson Airport, which has been meeting capacity for quite a while, what benefits does access to Billy Bishop offer for your patients?
Well, thank you for the question. As I said earlier, I think an equitable healthcare system that every provincial government aspires to operate and deliver has to ensure that it can, to the best of its ability, provide efficient travel.
1 minute.
So it allows families, patients, and their caregivers to get to the hospital that's going to save their life as quickly and as efficiently as that can be, whether that's delivered through a commercial airline service who we partner with, or whether that's delivered through our own volunteer pilot program. So what I would say is, as I said earlier, that if it was your health care, if it was your child's health care, or your partner's health care, you want to get a hospital as quickly as you can, and you want to get home as quickly as you can. You don't want to have to take multiple connections. You don't want to have to stay overnight for another night if you can get back home and into bed as you recover from treatment. So I believe it's essential to ensure equity in our healthcare system and compassionate support for vulnerable Ontario residents.
Thank you so much. That concludes the time. We're moving over to the official opposition, MPP Bell.
Thank you very much. My first question is to Laura McNeice from the Airport Management Council of Ontario. Ms. McNeice, you mentioned that there are many airports that are in need of important repairs and upgrades. Can you give us a bit of an understanding? How many airports do you have in your council, and how many of them are in need of important repairs and upgrades?
So we have over 80 airport members, and about half are small airports and aerodromes. And many are municipally owned and do not have commercial airline service. So they would be requiring capital infrastructure funds, as it does put quite a strain on the municipalities that own them.
So your estimate is about 40 of your members need government investment just to maintain a basic state of good repair. Would that be fair? It would be approximately there that we would think that they would be eligible. Not all are in a current state of looking at closure. There are probably about 5 to 10 of those who are imminently looking at divestment because they can't afford the infrastructure upgrades. So 5 to 10 are maybe under threat of closure. And then you mentioned this Ontario Capital Assistance Program, a $10 million program. It's an ask to the Ontario government. Has the Ontario government approved this request?
Currently, this is not a program that has been approved. We are actively working with the government to see a program like this come to fruition.
Thank you. So in 2015, a study called the Wyman Report did an assessment on the Billy Bishop runway expansion, and their estimate, it was funded by Air Canada, would be that it would cost up to $1 billion just to expand the runway. And they also found that the economics of this infrastructure project are daunting and unprecedented. No other airport of Billy Bishop's passenger volume has ever undertaken a $1 billion infrastructure project. And they said that their basic financial math raises serious questions that need to be further explored. A detailed financial feasibility is required, as it appears the result will be record high airport charges and airport improvement fund fees. So why I mention this is that it seems pretty clear from this report that this expansion cannot happen without government investment. It just can't. It's either going to be the city, it's going to be the province, or it's going to be the federal government. So, do you think investment in remote airports should come before a $1 billion investment in Billy Bishop?
I think that airports are a network and a system, and that investment across the board is essential to ensure that everyone is able. You cannot have a plane take off and have nowhere to land. it is a network and a system, and all airports need to have access to government funding in order to ensure that they are running at their optimum capacity.
You know, from what I hear from MPP Manuka, when we've got a situation where remote airports, up to 5, are at threat of closure, and we already have a functioning Billy Bishop Airport that provides service, I question why we would want to spend so much money on an expansion that the vast majority of Torontonians don't want, when there seems to be a very real need for investment in remote airports. But thank you for your response. My next question is to Mark Rubenstein from Hope Air. Thank you so much for being here. My question is, you know, how many requests do you get for support, and how many do you have to turn down?
Thank you for the question. It's an excellent question. In Ontario, we provided over 3,000 medical travel arrangements, and that would include 2,000 flights. The balance would be hotel rooms, Uber vouchers, meal vouchers, and other kinds of supports. To date, we've not had to turn down any requests, but I would also note that that's purely on the basis of funding limitations. And if you think about on a per capita basis in the population of Ontario compared to other provinces, demand for Hope Air services could easily be 10 times the current level. But that requires funding and then awareness, and then demand follows. So it's purely a function of that.
Okay. And how is this is a, you know, it's a numbers question I'm asking you here, but how frequently are non-urgent medical flights delayed coming into Toronto because of a shortage of landing and departure capacity?
Thank you for the question. And is that at Billy Bishop Airport that you're asking
Pearson.
That question?
And the reason why, or Pearson. So how frequently does that happen where a plane is delayed because of an issue with landing or departure capacity?
Can't speak to that question with authority.
That's okay.
Yep, I
That's
cannot.
Okay. I don't have a lot of time left. I wish I had more time. I have a great amount of respect for the work that you do. When I'm thinking about the issues that people are facing up north when it comes to access to medical care, my first thought is they need a family doctor. They need access to specialists. They need support to get down to Toronto if Toronto is the kind of hospital that can provide them with the service they need. I do not think that expanding an airport is the number one way that we can address some of the very critical issues that we have with access to care in the north. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming, and I also appreciate your work.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That concludes this section. We will be moving over to the next section of presenters.